I hated it the first year. It was very hard for me to kind of find my path and find my people, and that's what caused me to go back to school and study design.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bespoke. My name is Christina Hogue.
And I'm Sarah Zohar, lead designer and owner of Sarah Z Designs.
And we're very, very excited to be here. So today, we're going to be having a really interesting conversation about the relationships between designers and their construction team. Who better to join us than Preston Lemanski from Lemanski Construction Company. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the pod, and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, Christina. Sarah, you as well. My name's Preston Lemanski, and I'm the owner of Lemanski Construction Company.
Okay, so for anyone who may not know you, can you introduce the company in more detail? Where did you guys get started? When did you guys get started? And let me reword that. Okay, so when did you guys get started? Where were you based? And what type of projects do you focus on?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Boston, so I've cut my teeth on renovating brownstones in the city, Back Bay, Beacon Hill. I've been doing it for many, many years, and I really love it. 5 years ago, my family and I moved to Florida, and we're opened up an office in West Palm Beach.
Okay, great. So what inspired you to get started in the construction space?
So I'm a painter by trade, and just was always in the construction field, really enjoyed it. And as I was working for customers in the painting industry, they always wanted something else. It was, do you know anybody that's going to move a light from here over to there? So I'd call my friend that's the electrician. He'd move the light. Next project was like, do you know anybody that can refinish these floors? Sure, find that. And it just evolved over time into a full service construction company.
Did you go to school for construction?
I didn't. Nope, self-taught, yeah.
Self-taught, that's great. I grew up with construction. My dad was a builder in New York for 62 years. He actually started in Israel. He's not from Israel, he's from Syria originally, but in Israel, they used to hire him as a developer to put the tall cranes together and assemble them. And then he got a contract in Iran from one of the big developers, and then eventually he emigrated to New York and he became a builder. But
That's a great story too.
yeah, you're from Boston and I'm from New York. So you have that kind of mentality, that work ethic that seems to, come in handy when you're in South Florida. Well, right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things, especially with all the Northeasterners moving down. They understand, the pace, the schedule, the quality. So I feel like we can deliver for our customers up there and down here now.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Do you see the same?
Oh, completely. I mean, it's a game changer because coming from New York and that work ethic, and it's very similar to Boston, the pace and just getting things done on it, executing it in a timely manner.
Right, being on time.
Yes, sets you aside.
Those little things that are important, right?
Completely.
Yeah. That make this successful project.
100%. And it sets you aside as a firm for us, and I'm sure for your firm as well. So
Yeah, we feel the same way. And then just be able to market that is huge for us too. So having that mentality, and then, for us, driving the subs and having them understand the concepts and pushing them to do, great things for us and ultimately the client.
Okay, so speaking of Boston and relocating to South Florida, what inspired that move for you?
The weather.
Right? There's no
Yeah,
beating
as
it.
a Bostonian, I think they got 24 inches of snow last week. So yeah, I'm not upset about missing that.
Absolutely
I think that's
not.
what did it for us too. We were living in South Jersey, and that year, every other week was like 12 or 15 inches of snow. We got so sick of plowing the snow, and I remember nobody would leave the house. My friends and I, we all got pregnant because there was nothing to do. And we came to visit my parents who just had bought an apartment in Florida. And we're like, wow. My husband goes, look at the palm trees, look at the weather. What are we doing? And he was in retail. He was like, enough, let's move to Florida. And we made the move. And I hated it the first year. it was very hard for me to kind of find my path and find my people. And that's what caused me to go back to school and study design. So, yeah.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and it's a good point because it is so different, in a lot of different ways, in good ways, bad ways, but just that transition, the pace, I think that was the biggest thing for me, and having to be patient, sitting at traffic lights for sometimes 3, 4 cycles, but in it's a good thing too because it does teach you to slow down and
It does.
be
There are a bunch
yeah
of
be more
nice.
grounded.
Be more grounded and enjoy. And like in the beginning when I moved here, and like we moved to Aventura, and people were just not working. They were walking the circle every day. I'm like, what is going on here? Is it like
yoga
I feel like I'm in a cartoon. I'm like, it's like, what's going on? Does anybody work?
It's like there are people on the golf course all
Yes,
day.
it was just like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And you're right. It just teaches you like a different way of life, coming from the city, going to work, taking the subway, you're standing on and like the snow hits you in the face. And then you're like, okay, you got to be in the office at 9 a.m. And by the time you get back, it's like 7 p.m. and it's dark outside. And here you're like, people just are nonchalant. Oh, sure, you want to grab a Starbucks at 10? I'm like, okay, my day starts at 7.
So true.
But it's good. You know what? It's a different quality of life. Now, if you tell me to go back to New York, yeah, maybe for a weekend. I love New York. My kids are still there, but it's a different life. Once you get used to it, I think it's
hard to go
it's
back.
hard to go back.
Yeah, and then the weather too. I mean, we still have an office up there, so I go back fairly regularly. It's just the gray days. It's not having that constant sunshine that you get used to down here. And I always tell the story. It's like I'll go back up north, and everyone's like, "Oh, so what a nice day out." I'm like, "Is it? I haven't seen the sun in 3 days." Like they think it's a nice day when it doesn't rain or snow. So
Right, it's true.
Like, oh, it's gray, 60 degrees. This is perfect.
My sister would say, yeah, exactly, like 55. Oh, it's gorgeous. And I'm sitting there
yeah,
shivering.
yeah, same here.
But when it comes to work in the field, what are those differences, like the different climates? I'm very curious about that. Working on those big construction projects in Boston, where you said it snows and it's very windy, versus working in Florida, where it can be like super, super hot. Like, how do operations change?
Yeah, great question. So up in the Northeast, there's this big rush in the fall before the winter hits to close in the buildings. So foundations, roofs, windows, getting everything weather tight is a big dash, really. So that can be stressful. Obviously, in South Florida, we don't have that. Sometimes there's the occasional hurricane or storm that comes through in the summertime. So there's nice flexibility there. However, they do have shutdowns in the season, which I think you guys are aware of as well, that give you that push where you can't work past a certain date. So similar challenges, but I'll take the warm weather.
Yes, 100%. Definitely.
And how about for you guys? Do you see the same?
So we see the same. We're actually doing 2 projects in New York now, one in the city and one in Long Island. The city is more regulated and like it's much harder and tougher as far as timing with the condos. It's kind of like here, do you do more condo work or more?
No, more brownstone. So yeah, single family. So it's not as regulated. We do some condo work, but there's not one that I can remember that has that off season up in Boston. So it's interesting. So that was kind of something to get used for. And actually, we're working in a community in Wellington where they stop exterior work in single family houses as well in the community. So there is those shutdowns on single family.
Really?
Now too.
During the
Yeah.
holidays or?
Yeah, so it's December 1 through April.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's similar to the
Okay.
condos, yeah.
Yes, the condos shut down, I mean, like a month, like from Christmas to New Year's, but like for 3 weeks. And then like,
Is that New York?
and here, yeah. And then some of the Jewish holidays, like, so like the high holidays, they shut down. You can't work in the buildings. And so like, but they give you they're pretty good, like Bell Harbor, Sunny Isles.
Good
They give you good notice where you have that schedule. And it's great because that's the time where we're not on edge because all our clients know we can't do anything. Work is shut down. So that's the time where we kind of take off, or we catch up, or we go away, and like the team just gets like a refresher, you know?
To
Yeah.
decompress,
It,
start fresh in the new year.
what you need in the stressful environment.
Oh yeah,
It's
for sure. You know, it looks very glamorous from the outside, but they don't see the fires that we're putting out on a daily. Yeah.
On a daily is right.
Like, oh, you're an interior designer. You get to work
You
in
get to
Miami.
travel
You
the
get to
world.
travel.
That's why we don't get to take those Fridays off like everybody else in Florida. They're bankers, golf pros.
But yeah, so just getting into like collaboration between the building team and the interior design team. You typically work pretty closely with designers, I assume. So how do they typically fit into your process?
So it's a couple of different ways. And we love working with interior designers and architects. I think that that's just such a great collaboration for a great project. You know, you get that team, everyone's working well together. So there's a couple of different ways. We'll either get brought in by the interior design firm, whether it's a previous client or they haven't worked with a builder before. And or similar, we'll get approached by a client, new or existing, that is looking for you know, some design help. So it's a little bit of both.
And what does an ideal design build partnership look like for you?
For us, it's that collaboration. Like, I love it. I love the design process. So we're familiar with, you know, the different layouts, the different schemes, the details. The details matter so much to me. I'm sure the same for you. And I love seeing the designer details. Like, it's one of my favorite things, because sometimes it's like, I love the detail. How are we going to figure out how to do it? You know, and that's where that collaboration process comes in, because it's like, all right, well, let's do this. Let's do a mock-up. What do you think of this? You know, there could be an existing condition that has a challenge.
Right.
So working through that process together, it to me is great.
Do you ever run into a situation where you get designer drawings? Because I come from a construction background, so I really, when I design something, I know how to execute it. But I have younger designers in my office that will draw something unbelievable, and they're like, okay, yeah. I'm like, okay, great. How are we gonna execute this? Like, it looks great on paper, but like, what are we gonna do here? Do you ever run into that situation?
We do, yeah, and it does happen, and I'm understanding. Like, you know, our goal is to, you know, execute the design, execute the vision. So that's where we'll come into, you know, suggestions. What if we do this? The mock-ups are huge for us, you know, when we can do them on site and say, hey, what if we do this, tweak this? And, you know, 99% of the time we come out with a great outcome. Yeah, and I'm sure the same for you.
Do you have regular on-site visits with the designer, or everything is through email? And
It depends on the project. We typically like to have a weekly meeting just for a check-in, whether it's with the owner, design team, especially once the progress is ongoing. I just find that that's super important. It gets everybody on the same page. We resolve, you know, any of those conflicts that I would call, or just questions. You know, how we have a couple options here. How are we gonna, you know, do this detail? So I think that's a huge part of it too.
how do you handle something? Because I know it happens to us when the designer walks in and they're like, oh, we got to change this, or we sent you the wrong specs, or, you know, we excluded this, but now we have to incorporate this.
I give a big smile. Because it's part of the process. It really is. I mean, we've painted ceilings 3 times before. You know, I joke with a designer friend of mine up in Boston. We did this project, ornate ceiling trim, and, you know, we were back and forth about, you know, is the field going to be blue? Is the field going to be white? So we came up with you know, whatever the outcome was, and we painted it, and it was a ton of work. And he comes in, he goes, "You're going to kill me. We got to go back to the opposite." So we did, yeah. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's always the right outcome.
Right.
And I want what's best for the design, for the project, and then that translates to a happy customer.
100%. 100%. We're working on a project now, and we put these beautiful renderings together with, like, you know, ceiling coves and J's and LED lighting, and so we presented it a while back, and now the GC is like, no, it can't be done. I'm like, but that's the design. So he's like, no, but it can't be done. I'm like, but there is a way it could be done. Let's figure out a way
Yeah.
that it could be done.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have that advantage because you have that background in
Right.
like development and building. So I think as opposed to like other interior designers, we kind of have that edge where we're able to kind of
Right,
work with them a bit
because
better because you have that background.
yes, and if I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll call my father or my brothers or my husband that will, and I'm like, could this be done? And usually we'll
We'll
get
get to a
like it
solution.
could, yeah, like you said, we'll do a mock-up or something to
figure it
find out a solution how it can be done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But that's a great point where she's got that
she
little
does.
ace up the
She has
sleeve
that
where
edge.
you
yes,
can
100%.
say, you sure we can't do that?
Like, how sure are you?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that that's a perception too, where you talk about, that collaboration where there could be some conflict sometimes, where the builder, for whatever reason, may not want to do it. That's not the approach that I take, but I'm
Right.
sure that you
No,
can
but
come
you do
across
see
that.
that some we run into it also, and on our projects many times we're like, okay, if we make this revision, it's going back to the city, it's as built, it's making revisions, it's the inspector's coming out again. I'm like, I understand that, and it might cause a delay, but that's the right way to do it, and it's going to change the aesthetic completely. I'm huge, and everybody knows that, on keeping ceiling heights,
Yeah.
especially in condos.
Yeah.
And I always deal with the engineers and the architects and like the team where how are we going to make it so aesthetically beautiful where you're not going to see these huge drops in the ceiling? Let's figure out the mechanical. Or we were on a project in Bell Harbor and we designed this beautiful like 3D wall with panels that were like in and out with LED lights, and I put a stunning kind of like a biophilic design Philip Jeffrey wallpaper that was gradient, right? From
Yes.
navy blue to light, going from like darkness of like the ocean waters all the way to light.
Yeah.
So I get a call, well, we have a return grill on this wall. I'm like, well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah,
because
it's like a feature wall,
this is
right?
a feature wall. So figure it out. They're like, we can't. The mechanical closet is right behind. There's no way we could run it anywhere else. We've been on site 3 times and it's going to happen. I'm like, it's not going to happen. Let's meet there tomorrow, 9 a.m. So we're sitting and we're like a team of maybe 6 people, the engineer, the mechanical engineer, the architect, us, our team, the project managers. And my husband's like, we have to do it. I'm like, we're not doing it. It's not happening. I'm not ruining this wall.
Yeah.
The client paid way too much money for this wall. Not happening. We're trying to figure it out. I said, you know what? I have a great idea. On the side of the panels, let's create the return. It's backing up to the closet. You won't see it. We'll paint it a navy blue, and that's it.
Yeah.
They all look at each other and they're like, oh yeah, we could do
It's amazing.
no return.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we did it.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's invisible. You don't see it. We
Yeah.
showed the client, this is what we had to do. And they were like, this is amazing. You don't see anything. You don't hear anything.
Yeah.
And it worked out. But that's the kind of collaboration that, but you have to have a team or a GC or whoever you're dealing with that's open to
those
the ideas
ideas.
and make those changes. Sometimes they're not. And
Yeah.
they start screaming and going crazy, but
So true.
Yeah.
That's a great example. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it becomes the design feature. And then
100%.
you can say, listen what we did. Like we figured out a way
Right.
to get this done,
Right.
Exactly.
which is so
and
cool.
It makes for good anecdotal stories
Yes.
for our
There's plenty of those.
Yeah, we got tons. We got tons and tons.
Yeah.
What's the most common challenge that you feel like you face when it comes to your collaborations with designers? What are the things that come up most often?
I don't like to call them challenges, but just sometimes information, in terms of selections, finishes. We love sending out schedules. We need this by this date in order to make this date. And, it's part of the design process. There's long lead items that come into play. So not that I would say it's a challenge or a negative, but, just working hand in hand to get those materials in our hands when we need them.
Wow.
That's the biggest thing, to obviously maintain the schedule.
So we did a podcast not long ago about intertwining designers and architects. When do you want the designer to come in? And as a designer, I say I think they should be coming in from the beginning part of the process with the architect, because I think we're doing a project now where the architect was hired and later on the clients brought us in, and now we're changing everything that the architect is doing. And I don't know why that is. A lot of times we run into that, and we have a great relationship with the architect and we're working very closely with them. But I feel like some of they're more, it's different when you have, I don't know how to phrase it the right way, but it's different when you have an architect and they're so familiar with the exterior and then kind of the space planning or the needs of the client and the resourcing of the FF&E, which is like the furniture fixtures,
Yep.
is comes, it falls a little short. So when this client brought us on, we had a Zoom and we introduced ourselves and we worked with him, but like he has a great new team and we're like, we're gonna make all these changes and we'll do all the drawings so you don't incur any more hours because you've done this number. So we'll do it and then we'll just send it over to you. And then you could just incorporate our CAD into your CAD and that will relieve some of the hours that you've put into the project
Yeah.
up to date. But I find that like that's very helpful when the client brings in the designer and the architect, they're all on the same page. Everything is, all the drawings, the interior design set is incorporated already with the architectural drawings, and then it goes to the GC and the millwork or whoever to bid out.
Yeah.
Do you ever see?
Absolutely, and I would even put myself in that team as well. You know, from a builder standpoint, we want to be involved as soon as possible, because if there's any questions, the HVAC, where is
Right.
the ductwork going to go? Where are the lights going to go? Are the lights going to conflict with the structural? So we're able to add our value to that as well. And it's a great point about the architect and the interior designer plans. We just finished a project in Wellington where the clients were very astute. They had brought me in and they said, we want to, before we sign off on these drawings, before we submit them to permit, we want the designer to look at them. And sure enough, they made the changes.
I made the
And yeah,
change.
so it happens
It
all the time.
happens.
Where the furniture is going to go, the lighting, everything,
100%, because I feel like lighting follows furniture layouts, right? So, ambient lightings, areas, like a lot of times when we were designing, I mean, now it's going more to traditional, transitional, where you're going back to individual rooms. But when we had the open concepts, how do you kind of distinct an area when you're laying out an entire open space with so many different furniture vignettes, for it not to look like a furniture store. And the specialty is, you know, create distinct ceiling designs, and that's how you kind of
Differentiate that space.
differentiate that space, correct? And then lighting designs come into play. So it for sure goes hand in hand with what they're designing and what we're designing, and then bringing in, like you said, the builder or the GC and see how to execute.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a great approach and a great concept, and that's where I find that the projects, the customer satisfaction, they see that workmanship and everyone getting along,
Right.
and just makes for a better project.
100%. I mean, we did a project in Bell Harbor about 10 years ago, and it was huge. It was like combining two condos together,
Yeah.
totaling like 9,000 square feet. And we do Crestron, so we're Crestron
Yep.
authorized
Yep.
dealers. And I remember before we even ordered all the sliding mechanisms, we were sitting and trying to figure out with the window treatment, because it's all Crestron shades,
Yep.
the mullions, how to separate the windows with, and from the beginning, before we even like signed off on any schedules, any window schedules, any door schedules, we figured out how to place the lighting, how to place the shades, the system, the outlets, how many. So it's very like intricate. So
Yeah,
like
for
you said
sure. That
earlier, there's
that
a lot of
that
detail.
detailed custom construction. I mean, I always talk about the window pockets in the condo buildings, how to create that, how to, you
Right.
know, translate that with your window treatments, whether it's a soffit that they run behind, tied into the crestron, and then there could be lighting back there.
Outlets, where you want the outlets placement for the motorized shades, but also the spacing. Like, are we doing blackout? Are you doing 5%? Are you doing drapes? Because then it's like it goes from 4 to 8 to 12. So then you need to know how to create the pocket. It's a
Exactly.
lot of detail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, I feel like early integration of all of those teams and early collaboration really does prevent those future hiccups in the field. So, if we're all from the very beginning point on the same page and working in tandem in a harmonious way, it really does save a lot of headache, time, and money
100%.
a lot of
A
the
lot of
time
money. It's true.
because,
Without question, because if you can get it right down the first time, then there's no change orders, no redoing things, and
like,
it saves time, like you
yeah,
said.
and it really, that kind of jumps into our next point about budget. Has there ever been a point where there is something that a client wants to execute in their unit and you present it to the builders or the construction team, and then we kind of realize this is kind of out outside of what the client was willing to pay for said service? How do you guys kind of coordinate to I don't know,
To bring
to
that
bring
budget
that,
to
bring it, like make it like, yeah.
so there's a difference between construction change orders, which I call, and client additions.
Mhm.
And sometimes the client thinks, well, oh, it's a change order. No, it's not a change order. It's an addition. It's something that you want to add
Mhm.
that you did not think about in the beginning of the project, and we didn't know about it, so we didn't incorporate it into our budget. Versus it was on the original plan and we didn't account for it in the budget, and then now it becomes a change order, which we
Right.
often avoid. We try to avoid as
Yeah.
best as possible.
And it's
Sure.
important to differentiate those two things.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I agree 100% with that analogy, because there's certain things that just aren't selected at the time. So when we present the budget, there could be an allowance, whether it's for tile, stone. I always use the example for countertops
Mhm.
because you just never know. You
Right.
never know unless it's selected, pre-construction, where that's going to go, and that's what I love about it. So, we could have X in the budget and they see the stone that they absolutely love and have to have, and it's Y. And that delta is something that they'll know, and they'll know ahead of time when they're making that selection. For us, it's full transparency.
Right.
So they see all the invoices, all the receipts.
Right.
So they'll know exactly what they're spending when,
Right.
and then when they are going over for those additions, those selections that are made. So that's how we handle it. And I would just say it's the full transparency, knowing what
Mhm.
the budget is, where it will be if they make those changes.
Right.
And that's how we.
Agreed. I think we run our firm the same way, full of transparency, integrity. And like even now, we're working on a project where one of our in-house people kind of, there was a miscommunication and a breakdown in like the teams meeting where they didn't incorporate two rooms into the budget. I can't come back to the client and say, well, this is above and beyond. This is on us,
Yeah.
and we're eating it.
Yep.
And it's part of, this is a client that's been a third time around client, and it is what it is. So I called the vendors. I explained every vendor that we have relationships with did a little better on the discount, but like it is what it is. We're still eating a chunk, and it's just to cover up for a mistake that happened in-house or broken, and
Like
things
they're,
happen
Yeah.
because there's so much detail in this. It's so intricate, and there's things that, you know, you don't realize. And we work off renderings and plans and mistakes are bound to happen.
Yeah, there's so much going on,
Yes,
right? You just
yes,
can't be perfect all the
yes.
time. You know, you do your best, and that's where it kind of shakes out. But you know, similar for us, where if something gets put in the wrong place, you know, a tile's not the way it's supposed to be, we're responsible for
Right,
that. It's not the
100%.
designer, it's not the architect, it's not the certainly not the owner. And we do the same thing. You know,
Right.
we'll take care of it, whatever needs to happen at the end of the day to make the job right.
Yes, 100%. And it gets it done.
Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
client satisfaction.
Yeah.
And for you guys, are there any systems in place that you guys implement to kind of keep communication flowing so you can avoid those mistakes? Like, what systems do you guys kind of use to make sure that everyone remains on the same page, not only just from the very beginning, but throughout? Because things do change and things shift, and sometimes that's where mistakes happen when we make those changes, or maybe the office knows but the field doesn't, vice
Right.
versa.
Yeah.
So,
You want to take
So
side
yeah,
step?
so we actually just brought in this program. It's the field and the office where we're integrating everything, and now we find that it's more of a flow between the designers and the project managers, as well as teams, weekly teams meetings for every project. We sit at the end of the day, and we go through and we do a run through of every project, going through the renderings, the plans, going through live videos that we get from the field where we stand, on-site visits. And then I feel like that's minimizing the mistakes or questions or changes before we close walls, before we have screw inspection. So that's made a huge difference for us.
yeah.
The office we're still working on.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress, baby. But this is a question kind of for both of you. Like you can obviously feel like when there's a chemistry and an understanding between like the field team and the office team and there's a good relationship there. What are some early signs that you guys have noted in your collaborations with either builders in your case or designers in your case that the relationship's just not going to work out?
When I call my GC and he yells at me, I'm like, okay,
Yeah, it's not a good start.
not a good start.
But yeah.
No, you really, anything could be resolved, and it is, you know, it is a crazy industry. It's a lot of pressure. It's always putting out fires. It's, you know, this happened, that happened, but it's a matter of how we handle it and how we all come together. You know, we all have one final goal at the end is to execute and to deliver close to a perfect product to the client. So if I don't get paid, the GC doesn't get paid. It's a domino effect, right?
Right.
So we all try to work together to execute the best possible outcome so we all get paid and we walk away happily and we have happy clients. We don't want anything, you know, that God forbid our client is unhappy or, you know,
Or dissatisfied with the work.
yes.
Yeah.
And then that's never fun.
Yeah,
No,
I
of
couldn't
course
agree
not.
with you more. And one of the many things I love about construction is the project always ends, right? For good or bad,
Yeah.
great projects, tough
Right.
projects. I always have the eye on the prize. It's always going to end.
Right.
You know, you don't want these major conflicts, you know, egos involved, whatever it may be. Let's just get to the end. And maybe that relationship continues, maybe it doesn't. But let's, like you said, look at the better of the project and get there.
Right.
Right. It's about reaching that end goal and wrapping successfully because at the end of the day, like you said, the project will end and it's just about
Yeah.
executing in the best way possible.
It's true.
It is. And then, are there any instances where you guys kind of had to really do like a big change of plans mid-project because maybe something unexpected came up?
I did.
I was gonna say, I'm sure.
So on that larger project, the 9,002 units that
Yeah.
we combined, I mean, we did all the drawings. It was like really time consuming, and we gave it over to the architect. I thought she was a great architect. She happens to be a great architect, but she didn't understand planum ceilings at the time, and she So she lowered my entire ceilings, which I caught.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she lowered all my door heights from 8 feet to 7 feet.
That's a
And
big shift.
I
That's
missed that.
huge.
I had
Yeah.
21 doors. I missed that on the plans. I come in to the site. The client was from Chicago. And I'm meeting with the client, and I see that all my door heights are at 7 feet. I lose it. I speak. David's my husband. He was on site the entire. It was like a year and a half this project, and I'm like, there's a mistake. All the doors are 7 foot high. Right? They should be 8 feet. We ordered 8 foot doors. He's like, you're kidding. I'm like, that's what we called for in the plans. We look at the architect. He's like, no, 7 feet. I said, look at my IDS, 8 foot doors. I said, how the hell did I miss it? I said, you have to unframe all the doors. He's like, 21 doors? It's all done. It's all headers. It's all, 2x4s. What do you? I'm like, you have to. We get into this.
Oh, geez.
The client is standing there. I'm like, the client is 6 foot tall. He's not walking through a
The 7 foot
door.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're changing it and we're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
So we start arguing, and then the client walks over. He's like, everything okay? So my husband goes, yeah, your designer's crazy, and he walks away. I'm like, okay, we're still married after this.
Yeah.
But
That's
we
great.
did it, and it
Yeah.
was a big, it was a hard pill to swallow, but we had to
Yeah.
do it. And then, and the client's like, what are you doing, Sarah? I'm like, you'll thank me at the end. I promise you, this was a mistake. It's not on you, it's on us. We called for 8 foot doors. I told him the truth. I missed it on the architectural plans. There's so much detail. It's not on you. I'm changing all your doors. He's like, are you sure? I'm fine with it. I said, I am sure. At the end of the project, because they're all, I mean, it was, so he's like, Sarah, you're right. What a difference. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
It does, and it speaks to you wanting that right design.
Right.
Like you said, the client would have been okay with it,
Yeah.
but you weren't.
I wasn't okay with it.
And it was a lot of work on your end, and you did it for the better of the project.
And then after that project, I told my husband we can no longer work together.
Yeah. Well, that's an
He's
interesting
like, no, we're
dynamic, I'm
gonna
sure.
find our paths. So now he's like overseeing one thing, but it's hard. Listen, it's a lot of. I tell them all the time, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of things always come up. Things happen. This broke. This came in damaged. We inspect all furniture. We deliver last minute. How many times? I mean, nobody taught me. I wish I had a mentor that told me, you know what? Measure the elevator. You have to measure the elevator so you could get a sofa in. So I have a sofa that didn't fit through the elevator. I crane it in, and the next thing I know, I'm so happy. They crane it in. The guy's on the dolly bringing in the sofa. We place it, and then the grease from the pulley,
Oh,
okay, went on all the white fabric. The client was coming in the next day. I called Kravit. Well, how could you help me? I send them a video. They had leftover fabric. They send the upholsterer guy with the fabric on the spot, waiting for him. He comes in at 7 p.m. I tell him you have to walk through the lobby. Sitting, he reupholstered, redid the entire sofa. So it's a lot of stress. And the client was coming in the next day.
wow.
It's a matter of like, just, okay, don't go into panic mode. How are we fixing this? How are we executing this? Because we have a bigger responsibility and we're taking it off from the client, putting it on us. It's a lot of pressure.
Right.
Yeah, it is so true, and keeping that calm head,
Right.
because then
Yeah.
that trickles down, and if you're freaking out, I'm freaking
Right.
out, everybody else is gonna
Everyone's
start
freaking
freaking
out.
out. But yeah, but you'll never not measure an elevator again,
Ever.
right?
And now, and
Yeah.
that's
Right.
like, we do mentorships and we're going to speak about that later on. But like, we try to teach the younger designers, this is what you do. Nobody taught us this. Nobody teaches you this
That
in
in
school.
Yeah.
It's so true. And even when you do hear about it, I think that real world life experience is so important.
It
You know,
is.
just because you'll never forget that. I've made mistakes that I'll never make again.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's almost
Stick
like
with
you
you.
have to, it's a rite of passage sometimes.
It's
Yeah.
true. You have to experience it for sure.
For sure. Okay.
But it's never a dull moment,
Never.
No.
especially on install days or weeks.
Okay, so in regards to these design build partnerships, Sarah, like I said, she kind of has this edge of having a knowledge and background in construction. A lot of designers typically don't. So, from your end as a builder, what are some things that designers don't often realize about the construction end of the job that you wish that they would know or they did know that would help out?
Well, I mean, I don't think that, your background is so amazing to have that construction experience.
Thank you.
I don't, I wouldn't expect everybody to understand, I look at it from a sense like we're all professionals, we're all good at what
Right.
we do.
Right.
Um, I don't know the best fabric to use in the scheme, right? And that's why I would, lean on the designers and the professionals. So I don't take the approach like the designers should know everything. We can have that conversation. That's why I like
Right.
to, like we talked about being, at the beginning of the project. What do you want where? And then I can say, okay, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to avoid, whether it's plumbing, getting electrical, getting, HVAC to
Right.
certain areas. So I don't look at it as a negative, like they should know more. I would just ask for that collaboration,
Right.
and say, what can we do? This is my design. This is my goal. How do we get there?
And that's what I think, sets you apart because it is about the collaboration and it is about figuring out and working out together where some contractors or are not so open to
Yeah.
those ideas. They're
Yep.
like, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing. You're, like I've gotten that.
Yep.
You're in the men's industry like plenty of times where I'm like, no, like I could handle it. Believe me, I'm from New York. I grew up with construction. I can handle it, and then when they do understand that, I understand. But not every designer
Has your type of
has that,
experience.
and so unfortunate we hear from some younger designers that are women that are in it's still considered more of a man's trade, right? They don't know how to handle it and they don't know how to stand up to it, and I think that's where we come in to, you know actually teach them and say you have to work with the right partners, like you said,
Yep.
where they're open to listening, they're open to collaboration, they'll explain the situation, they'll be more patient versus someone who's like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You
It's like
know?
that
Because
hard
there's no
no. There's no
progress there.
reason for that, just no, you
There's
can't
no
do it.
reason. I mean, about 2 or 3 years ago, Eric is one of my top, he heads my design, right?
Yeah, the design team.
Design team, and we walk into a big commercial project on Flagler Street, and there was a meeting with maybe 10 subs. They had the concrete beams running across and concrete columns, and they were doing sort of like a storefront type of jewelry exchange. And few major architects, engineers, and everybody was trying to figure out how to line up the architectural columns with a curtain wall, like a glass curtain wall,
Yeah.
where it's in line as one elevation, and nobody could figure it out. And my brother had just done it for me in my office, where he did a returned glass and made it look kind of floating. And then he did one glass curtain wall where it was all one elevation and
Yeah.
even. So I'm just sitting there with Eric, listening to all the men. And when we walked in, everybody's looking at me because I was the only woman in the meeting. And the owner that hired me was laughing because he knows me, he knows my dad. So he didn't say anything. He let them do their thing. And they're looking at me. I'm sitting, Eric is sitting, he's smiling. And then the owner goes, okay, I'd like to hear what Sarah has to say. So one of the architects who I know said, so Sarah, yeah, we'd love to hear what you have to say. Why don't you give us your background and see what you have to say? But in a condescending kind of like, oh, we can't figure it out. You think you're gonna figure it out?
Yeah.
And So I gave them my background and I said, it's very simple. Why don't we do glass return panels and then create one glass curtain wall as an elevation? And it's going to look floating. You're not even going to pay attention to the differences in elevation with the structural columns. The room is silent.
So you
If
could
I
drop
tell
pin
you,
drop there.
Eric and the owner smiling from ear to ear, and you see all the subs, the glass subs, starting to like converse between themselves and like whisper. And the architect goes, "Oh, you think that's doable?" I said, "I know it's doable. I just did it in you're welcome to come see my new office."
Yeah.
So he says, "Okay, and how are you gonna hold the return glass panels?" Because I said, "Very easy. You could do channels. You could do U channels, and you could screw the U channel into the concrete, and then put the floor butted up, so you're not even going to see it. It's going to look floating, and this and that. And it's just challenging me to like the point where, okay, this is enough, you
Yeah.
know? So the glass sub says, I wish we would have thought of that. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the meeting, they all walk over, they ask for my card. But imagine, I'm not going to reveal my age, but okay, but I'm more confident and I have more experience. But imagine that happening to a younger designer, maybe 2 or 3 years in the field. It's really intimidating.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're trying to help and let them grow and let them know you have a place in this field. You just have
sure.
to know where your stance is. And not everybody is like that. A lot of people are open and nice. And I think it's changing tremendously, but it wasn't in the beginning, you know?
Yeah. No, I think it's, asking questions and just, like you said, getting those details,
Right.
and part of it is the experience,
Part of it is the experience,
But
100%.
I agree. I think just, getting that to that point in the construction industry, it has come a long way.
Right.
And I love the mentorship. I think that's going to be a
Super
great
important.
thing
I think it's
for
great.
the
I
young
think
people.
we always have to give back,
For sure.
For sure. And just to kind of close out, what type of advice would either of you give to younger designers or or builders on collaboration? Is there anything in particular that stands out that you wish you would have known?
So to young designers, I would always say, I mean, you could always learn, self-learn. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Collaborate with GCs. Find nice GCs to work with.
Thank you.
And just, grow into yourself and
Hold your
really
hold your
hold
own.
your own, 100%.
Yep. Have the passion,
Right.
have that passion come out in find what you love to do. But I agree, it's all about the collaboration, ask questions, um, try different things, because you don't know what you can and can't do until you try, make a mistake,
Right.
figure it out again. So that would be my advice. Don't be afraid to make
Wonderful.
I
mistakes, I
want to
guess.
add, I was always like amazed by Zaha Hadid because she came from a Lebanese background, and that time it wasn't even appropriate for a woman to go into any career or have a career because that Middle Eastern background was like, the women were supposed to be the homemakers, taking care of the family, cooking, cleaning,
Yeah.
and she really broke every barrier in her industry, not only in our industry, but also in her background, where she came
Right.
from. And she
Yeah.
wasn't afraid to take those steps. And I always look at her as like, wow, iconic, because I come from a similar background where, my parents were more modern, but they do come from that Middle Eastern, background where my dad was always the breadwinner and my mom was the homemaker. And like, it wasn't, my sister and I got married very young, and we started our careers after the fact when we were married and had kids. But it was just amazing. And I look at her and I'm like, wow, she's someone to learn from, you
Yeah,
know? And she
yeah.
wasn't afraid. She held her own. She was so passionate and she pushed her passion forward, like you said, you know? And it was just amazing.
It's all about the love for what you do. I feel like
Yes,
that's kind of the driving force for a lot of people, especially when you face these challenges on the day to day, just knowing that you love what you do and always having that why.
right.
Like, yeah. And just one final question for you, Preston. Where can people find you and learn more about Lemanski Construction Company?
Yeah, so we're on the internet, www.lemanskiconstruction.com, and our office is in West Palm Beach, 1970 South Dixie Highway. So if everyone's in the area, come in and say
Stop
hello.
by.
Come in and say hi. You'll have lunch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We have a great sandwich shop right across the street,
Okay.
Bucan. If you haven't
I'd stop by.
had Bucan sandwiches, you gotta come over.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
great.
Well, this was a wonderful, fun episode, and we're so glad that you were able to join us today. Thank you, Preston, for being here.
Thank you.
Um,
This was
Yeah, it was
great.
amazing. Thank you. Thank you for
awesome.
having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Come back.
I'd love to. I
Yeah.
would love to.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of Bespoke. Bye.
Bye.